This episode of Fall Obsession Podcast is brought to you guys by our friends over at Hoot Camo. I've been rocking Hoot Camo for a season now, started wearing it in 2023. First hunt I wore it on was actually a mule deer hunt in Colorado, and I can't say enough about the gear. The patterns are versatile, the gear is warm, wore it in Colorado, and it holds up extremely well against the elements, against the brush, you name it. They've done a great job with this stuff. So if you guys are looking to get into a new set of high quality camouflage, I recommend that you guys go check out Hoot Camo. They also have just everyday casual wear, some fishing gear, some golf gear. So more than just hunting, but we all know that price is the big factor when you're trying to select a new pair of camouflage. So if you're looking for a high quality set of gear that you can get into at an affordable price when it comes to high quality gear, then Hoot Camo's got it figured out. And they're coming to Shields. They're now in the Shields down here in Texas and hopefully going to expand beyond that. So pretty exciting to see the growth that these guys are getting and the work that they're putting in. It's paying off. So if you guys want to place an order with Hoot Camo, use the code FallObsession15 and that will save you some money at checkout. The Outdoor Call Radio app is a Fall Obsession podcast partner. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV. He has created an app that you can download on any device where you can stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. You will catch Fall Obsession podcasts playing on that loop on Mondays. That's the same day as our new publications, as well as tons of other hunting shows and podcasts that we all know and love. So go download the Outdoor Call Radio app today. It is free. You guys can start streaming right away. And go follow Outdoors Dan and the Outdoor Call Radio app Facebook page on social media. He does a couple of different live radio shows in the Midwest, a couple different times a week. And even if you're not local to those stations, you can find those live broadcasts shared on those Facebook pages. So the Outdoor Call Radio app and Outdoors Dan, go check them out. Elite Archery is a Fall Obsession partner. Been rocking an Elite bow for several seasons. Got a new ethos coming my way and I can't wait. But the ultimate test for you to see if you like Elite Archery is going to be going to your local dealer and taking the Elite Shootability Challenge and see what you think. Have them put one in your hand, compare it to other bows, and let the results speak for itself. Elite Archery, go check them out. Last but not least, Ridge Rock Hunt Company is a podcast partner. Derek Eves over there in Mississippi. He books hunts with vetted and trusted outfitters across the country. So if you're looking for that next adventure, that next hunt, one that you've been saving up for, maybe even a bucket list hunt, then go give Derek a call. He'll work with you on all the details and find a trusted and vetted outfitter that is right for you. Ridge Rock Hunt Company, go check them out. Finally, thank you guys again for tuning in to another Fall Obsession podcast. Whatever platform you are streaming on, be sure that you hit that follow and subscribe button, whatever they have up there for you. Turn those notifications on if that's an option. That way you guys know every time we drop a new episode. Watch our videos on YouTube. Follow us on all the major social media platforms and go to fallobsession.com. Check out all the content we have flowing through there and maybe pick you up a hat or a shirt or something to support a small-time hunting brand. We always appreciate it. Head on over to Carbon TV too. We got 2 different hunting shows, this podcast, and then our staff-inspired video podcast series, Couch Chats, streaming on Carbon TV. So want to make sure you guys go check that out, as well as all the other shows that Carbon has to offer. That's it. We're heading over to the episode. You guys are listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down.
Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast. My name is Sam Thrash, and I am your show host over here with you guys again. And as you can see, if you've been following along with the journey and our episodes in recent months, you know that I've started doing some solo podcasts on this show. Not just as a filler, but over topics that are on my mind, that I'm passionate about, and that I feel like I can really dive deep into. And that's one thing that I have found through these solo episodes, that I'm able to do a lot more intimately than I am with some of the guests that we have on our show, and that is just dive deep into some topics that I'm passionate about, or that I have some really, I don't know if strong opinions is the right word, but I have some strong opinions about them, for lack of a better term, I guess. So, but all that is to say, I'm not trying to make it a every other episode thing or stuff like that, but solo podcasts are here to stay as part of our show. And I know that's a complete 180 from my original mentality prior to doing the first one, which is episode 186. But the feedback that we've received, the results that we've received from them have been great, better than I could have imagined. So I'm appreciative of you guys. By all means, if you have any more feedback about our show in general or these solo podcasts, feel free to share it with me. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. I want to hear it. It's what makes us better. But I'm gonna keep doing this every once in a while. At this point, it's somewhat regularly, not every other episode, like I said, but want to dive into some topics and really just start going on about some stuff and seeing where these episodes take us. But tonight, the topic that I want to talk about kind of revolves around the origin stages of small time hunting brands. And I have actually written a question that kind of takes us into this conversation. And that question being, so you want to build an outdoor brand? This episode is for the little guys. This episode is for the blue collar folk who are passionate about hunting, who are passionate about the outdoors, and who want to establish themselves in the hunting and outdoor space in some capacity. It can be anything. It can be a YouTube channel. It can be a social media page. It can be a show. It can be a podcast. But there are plenty of people out there who are wanting to do this, who are dedicating their spare time outside of their normal Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday, sometimes a 7-day-a-week blue collar grind. They are still finding time to do everything they can to express and share their passion for hunting in the outdoors by whatever means they deem appropriate. So this episode is for y'all, and I'm going to get into some of the origin stages of Fall Obsession and where I was when we started this whole thing back in 2012 now. 12 years ago. That's crazy to think about, but that's when it started. And I'm going to share with you guys some of the good and some of the bad along the journey. And I hope that it inspires somebody to maybe take that extra step, or maybe try something different, or do something that they haven't been doing yet, that might be able to take you to the next stage. Because one thing that I learned early on, one thing that I realized is that there are a ton of people out here doing this in the outdoor industry. This being trying to make a name or build a brand that they're a part of or for themselves in the hunting and outdoor industry. I don't like the word industry. I use it all the time, but I guess I use space instead as kind of an alternative. But in the hunting and outdoor space, there's tons of people out there. And I'm sure if you guys are active on social media, if you listen to a lot of podcasts, you've heard and seen anything from one extreme to the other, right? There's obviously folks that are absolutely killing it, and they're making money, and which is good. I'm proud of them. Good for them. They're making money. Their content is top notch, and they're just killing it in the online hunting and outdoor media world. And then there's people who, for some, are struggling to find their identity. They've created a page, or they've started a show, or they're filming their hunts, or they've maybe started a podcast, but they don't really know what to do with it. And that's no disrespect to anybody that's in that boat, because we've all been there. Again, this episode is to hopefully encourage you guys in some sort of direction that maybe you need encouraging in. So, like when we started, I didn't know what Fall Obsession was. When Fall Obsession started in 2012, it was a blog. I had a blog on Blogspot that I just shared my own hunting and outdoor ideas, thoughts, experiences, stories, you name it. And there was no purpose to it. It actually started before that as a newsletter, is what I called it. And I would just write one thing a month, and I would send it to a very small list of quote unquote subscribers, which was basically a group of like 7 friends. I'm not joking about that, 7 friends. And one of those friends, who is still a friend and actually our business development director here at Fall Obsession now, Nick Latham, he told me at the time, he's like, hey, you should stop doing the newsletter where you email it every month, and you should make it a blog. That way people can find it online. So that's what led to me starting the blog spot and starting to share that kind of stuff. And I piddled around with that for a long time. And I was videoing some stuff. I wasn't good at videoing. I wasn't good at editing or anything like that. But I was, just feeling out those things and, just trying to get my feet wet and figure it all out. That's what I was doing. And I never had ambitions to own a company or start a brand like this. Again, back then I had no idea what this thing even was, or what it was supposed to be, or what it was going to be. In 2015, I decided to start a field staff, and I was inspired by another company that I had gotten connected with, and I honestly, to this day, I wish I did, but I don't even remember how I got connected with them. They were a scent elimination company, and they had a field staff, and I got on field staff. And that's what kind of sparked the idea on, hey, what if I had a field staff? And again, keep in mind, I have a blog and I'm nobody. I am at the bottom of the bottom at this point. Not even paying attention to how many people are following, not even paying attention to my analytics or anything like that. Just ideas floating around in my head pretty much. And so I got this idea to create a field staff, but the other driving factor behind it was, well, what if, like, I'm sharing all my stuff on this platform, what if I got other people to do the same? Because I hunt Texas. I had never even at the time hunted outside of Texas once. So I was like, well, what if we got all these other people with all these other experiences, all these other backgrounds to come in and join us and start sharing their stuff? So I put it out there, field staff. I wrote up a quick deal about, hey, this is how it's going to work. This is how we're going to reward people, and have a point system and tiers and all this kind of stuff. I built what I thought at the time was the best thing that I could come up with. And again, I'm nobody, and I had 10 people sign up for it. And I still wear that as a badge of honor. Like, there were 10 people that were willing to take a chance on Fall Obsession back then. And that's awesome to me. And to this day, 12 years later, or I guess 2015, so we're 9 going on 10 years later now. To this day, we still have 2 of those original people on our team, which I think is super cool. Drew Tordick, who is our marketing director and vice president now here at Fall Obsession, he was one of those original 10. That's how I met Drew. And then one of our pro staffers now, Kevin Johansson, he is one of the original members as well, still on the team. So I find it so cool that those 2 guys have been with us the entire time and on the journey. But that's where that whole side of Fall Obsession began evolving. We started getting all these guys coming in. We would add people to the team and to the field staff every single year, and it kept growing from there. We kept getting content submitted and everything, and we were posting more regularly, and we had some educational stuff coming to our platform, and it was turning into something. I still didn't really know what it was. We started getting some partnerships and started knocking on some doors and building some relationships. We had some good lasting relationships that were awesome for the time. We had some relationships with partners where they weren't so great. And I bring that up just because, and this has been a while ago, and I learned these things the hard way, but there are people out there who are just looking to make a buck, who to them this is just a job, and they don't really give a crap about you, the little guy. And I don't condone that mentality. Fall Obsession in the past has been a victim of that mentality, and it's only because of me being naive if you will. But you got to trust the people that you're working with, and you got to build those relationships. And that's what I like. If you are working with somebody, I think it's a good idea to get to know that person, if at all possible, to meet that person in person and talk to them before you develop a relationship, to test their product, to test their gear, to look at their reputation outside of your brand and elsewhere in the industry, and not just look at it as, oh my gosh, I got this trail cam company, or I got this scent elimination company, or this deer lure company, whatever it might be, and they want to take a chance on me. I got 200 followers and that's it, and they want to take a chance on me. I can't believe it. I get that you get excited, but you still have to do your homework. And there was a deer attractant company back in the day that screwed over Fall Obsession, and that was because I was naive about it. That company no longer exists, so it is what it is. But we had to learn some of those relationships the hard way and everything. And one thing I have learned about the outdoor industry is that it is one of the most challenging industries to grow in, to build a brand in. And if you are passionate and dead set on creating something in this outdoor industry, you have my full support, but you're going to have to work for it. 100% you are going to have to give it a lot, and you have to find something to set yourself apart. And again, I'm not dogging on the little guy, but in this industry, there are a lot of little guys out there. And there are plenty of people out there who are just they do just have a general idea in their mind of what they want a company to be like. Oh yeah, we're going to have a show, and we're going to get sponsors, and we're going to make money, and we're going to post pictures online to do all that. And that's their plan. That's it. And if that's your plan for you listening, no disrespect to you, but you need more. You got to have a mission. You got to have some drive, you got to have some work ethic, and you got to set yourself apart from the next guy over. Because that's what people are looking for. What's unique about you? What do you have that shows that you're committed to this? What do you have that, back up the data? What do you have that shows me that you can generate what you say you can generate? You got to have that stuff ready to go, especially when you start talking to larger organizations and larger companies. The other side of that is you can't get frustrated when it doesn't go your way. And I've learned this the hard way. I still struggle with this to this day. I've had companies, let me back up. I've learned in the outdoor industry that for some of these companies, it seems like there's a high turnover rate too. Because as a brand starts getting corporate and starts becoming what we would consider a big name in the industry, a big brand, a big product, they have all these different tiers of people and employees that work full time for them. And what I am discovering is that there's more and more people entering this industry from the corporate side that don't have a very strong background in hunting in the outdoors. They applied for a corporate job, a marketing job, a customer relations job, whatever it might be. And that's the job that they have, and now they're working the hunting outdoor space. And no disrespect to those individuals, but that generates a higher turnover. Because if it's just a job to you, then when the next job comes along that has better pay, better benefits, better hours, whatever it might be, what's to keep you from going over there? And I mean, that's America for you. More power to you, man. Like, I'm not dogging you for that. But it creates a higher turnover for some of these companies. A good example is I've worked with a brand in the past where I had 4 different reps in 6 months. And that was super frustrating for me because 4 different times in 6 months, I felt like I was starting from square one again. Hey man, my name is Sam. I work for Fall Obsession. This is what Fall Obsession is. This is what Fall Obsession does. This is what we're looking to get out of this partnership. This is what we can offer you. I felt like I was giving my pitch over and over again, getting nowhere with this brand that I really wanted to work with. And that's the kind of stuff that you're going to have to deal with. Maybe not that specific circumstance, but it was frustrating for me. But you had to keep grinding. If you want it, you got to go get it. You got to work for it. You got to set yourself apart and sell yourself to the next guy. You know, believe in your brand. Believe in what you're doing. And I've struggled with that. There's been times I've struggled believing in Fall Obsession sometimes, and struggle with what the identity of the Fall Obsession brand is or should be over the years. But there's inspirational people in my life who have inspired me and motivated me and lit a fire back under me and kept this thing moving, both within our company and outside of our company. Going back to our stages of growth, you know, we decided several years ago that we're going to be a hunting and outdoor media production company. We were tired of playing this game of, are we just a hunt club? Are we a field staff? You know, what do we have to offer? No, we are going to create the highest quality content we can, the most educational content that we can for the blue collar hunter, because we are blue collar hunters as well. And we are going to go above and beyond to accomplish that goal. And my staff will tell you guys, and I'm the last guy to come up with the idea, if you will. Like, somebody will pitch an idea to me and it will just, it takes a second to settle in. And I know probably the guy on our staff that can relate the most and is Drew Tordick, our marketing director. And a good example is this podcast that we have, that we are now almost 200 episodes into. Yet I didn't want to start it. I didn't think that there would be any value in it. And now our podcast is not only like our flagship series at Fall Obsession. Like, when folks talk about Fall Obsession or think of Fall Obsession, the podcast is like tacked on right there with it. We get the most views, the most unique listens and unique followers from the podcast out of anything and everything. The backdoor side of that is the data and the analytics for the podcast are what we bring to the table when we talk to new partners and everything. And there's other things too, don't get me wrong, but that's at the top, because that's the best that we can offer is our podcast. And yet I didn't even want to take the leap. Drew brought it up to me like, hey, we should start a podcast. This was in 2019. Hey, we should start a podcast. Hey, we should start a podcast. All of fall of 2019, he was on me about it. And I was just like, I don't know, man. It's a lot of work. Like, it's a lot of work. We got to do this. We got to do that. And I don't know. I don't even really listen to a lot of podcasts myself. Since then, now I only listen to podcasts, I feel like, but that's beside the point. We had a staff hunt in December of 2019 in Texas, whitetail hunt. We've talked about that on our show. Actually, that hunt itself was all of episode 2 of our show was talking about that hunt. Incredible experience. But Drew came down here to Texas to hunt, and I remember we were cleaning, or I can't remember if it was, I think it was the day before we left. We were like cleaning up after dinner, and Drew handed me this recorder that to this day I'm still using, by the way. Hands me this recorder and it's like, hey, I made an investment. I'm in this thing. I'm committed to Fall Obsession, and I bought this recorder, and I'm giving it to you, and we need to start a podcast. Okay, again, still reluctancy on my part, and it wasn't right, but reluctancy on my part to start it. But after planning, thinking about it, figuring out, okay, we're going to do it. What do I need to do to make it happen, and getting all our ducks in a row. March of 2020 is when we started recording and started dropping episodes, and we haven't stopped since. Again, I should have started sooner, because if I had, we probably would have had that much more awesome stuff online, you know. And it's now like, this is one of my favorite things to do. Yes, it does. Sometimes it does feel inconvenient, right? Because I got to record at least every week, or stack multiple episodes in a week so that we can publish a new episode every week. It's a commitment. It is, and it's not always convenient. there are plenty of nights where I would rather not be recording, or I feel like that, until I sit down in front of this microphone and I start talking to the camera, or I start talking to a guest, and I really engage and am able to, just commit to a conversation. And that's where I feel like I can be my truest self, is on a podcast. I feel like even as organic as I feel like my show, Texas Dirt Down Here, that I produce, even as organic as I feel like that is, and let me back up. I need to apologize for that. It's yes, I edit the show, but Nick Pallas is equal parts on that show. He produces episodes for it too. I'm sorry, Nick, but yeah, the show that we have down here with that, I feel like even there, even though I could be the same, I could just be true Sam, there's still just an element to being in front of a camera and filming a show that you feel like you hold back a little bit, or at least I do. And on the podcast, I mean, you guys feel this episode right now. If you made it to this point, I'm rolling right now. I'm into it. And that's what I get out of these podcasts. That's what I get out of it. So podcasting has turned into my absolute favorite method of content creation that we do here at Fall Obsession. I love it. And I'm going to keep doing it. Podcasting has allowed myself and some of the other guys that have been involved in kind of the hosting role here and there throughout the history of our show, throughout the last 4 years, we've gotten to meet people that I would have never met before. We've gotten to podcast with people and build friendships with individuals that we would have never gotten to know before. And some names that come to mind are, I'll start with just here very recently, Miss Amy Hall. I got to podcast with Miss Amy Hall, who's the show host for Her Wild Outdoors. Awesome individual, very passionate about hunting, the outdoors, and her mission behind her show. Go listen to the episode. But somebody that I would now consider myself friends with. Like I had through podcasting, I built a connection with this individual, right? Derek Eves from Ridge Rock Hunt Company. I've known Derek for years now. And Derek is a person I built a connection with through this podcast and that I consider a good friend now. That dude is awesome. And I will, I talk to him outside of Fall Obsession and everything. And, we exchange texts every so often. Larry McCoy, I talk to Larry every now and then, and he's somebody that I've gotten to know on a first name and a personal basis outside of, just a personality on a hunting TV show. The RJ Ciancerulo, I'll name drop him too. Like this is a guy that, again, I texted him the other day, congrats on your wedding, man, and we had a message exchange because, again, a guy that I grew up as a kid watching his parents on their hunting TV shows and seeing him on there as a kid. I never once thought that I would get to, have that sort of connection with him personally. And these are all things that wouldn't have happened without this brand. Our own staff at Fall Obsession, the most down-to-earth, wholesome people that you will ever meet. And I would have never had these relationships with these individuals, very personal relationships with most of these individuals at this point, that I would have without this brand. I wouldn't know any of them. Todd and Heather Sullen, Tyler Wolf, Mike Teepee, Tim Burgess, like all these guys and girls that are on our staff that are family. Like, we hunt together. And yes, when there's when we're hunting together, there's obviously cameras rolling and content being produced, but that's not what it's all about. The experience and being together, the camaraderie, the adventure, the memories that are made, that's what that's about. That's what Fall Obsession is at its core, with our staff and our what we call our Fall Obsession family. I owe Todd Sullen and Heather Sullen a lot for that, because they Todd stepped up. They both stepped up, but Todd stepped up into that staff manager role a couple years back, whenever it was, and has just taken it upon himself to nurture and grow that Fall Obsession staff into a Fall Obsession family. And like, if you had to pick somebody that was the head of the Fall Obsession family, it would be, in my mind, it'd be Todd Sullen, because he's done an incredible job. But yeah, these are the things that wouldn't happen otherwise. The opportunities that come with a brand like this, with working hard and trying to make your mark in the outdoor industry. I personally wouldn't have had the opportunity to go to Montana and hunt pronghorn, or go to Colorado and bow hunt, spot and stalk, mule deer like I did. It straight up wouldn't have ever happened with Fall Obsession. I've also learned through this that there are so many hunting opportunities out there that are affordable. I mean, yes, you got to get there. There's tags you got to pay. Some are more expensive than others, but I just had this naive thought in my mind, this preconceived notion that, well, to go out of state and hunt, you got to pay all this money and hunt with an outfitter and pay for this tag. And it was this mountain that I felt like I would never be able to climb. And that's the easy way in my mind. It's the expensive way, and it makes it easier, I should say. But there's also, for blue collar folks like myself, there's opportunities to do this stuff either over the counter or public land or DIY, whatever it might be. People who invite you to go hunt with them, there's plenty of opportunities to do that. And that's been one of the awesome things about Fall Obsession internally, is just that the hunting community is very generous. I grew up hunting in Texas, where, just again, it was ignorance is what formed my initial impressions about it. But you paid for your deer lease and you had your deer lease, but you had guys on that deer lease that wouldn't let you hunt their stand. They're like, no, that's my stand. You don't hunt that stand. That's mine. You had people that, if you set foot on my property, I'll shoot you. Like, people that were that picky and that particular about it, which I get it. It's their land, it's their property, and they hunt it, like, rightfully so. They have every right to be like that. But that formed when I was a kid, that formed my, subconscious impression of what the hunting community was. And it was like, if you don't have your own little spot, then you're out of luck. And that's not at all what it's like. There are so many people who are welcoming and just open invitation, like, hey man, come on, come up to Colorado and hunt with me, come up to Montana and hunt with me, come to Minnesota and hunt on my place, whatever it might be, come to Florida and hunt turkeys. There are so many welcoming people out there that will give you the opportunity, and you just have to put forth the work for the relationships, right? You got to build and nurture and maintain those relationships, and it's a give and take. If somebody offers to take you hunting out their place, there eventually should be a return, if you have the ability to do so. So I get off on a rabbit trail on that a little bit, but for me, and I've said this before, but as we're diving into this, like, Fall Obsession is still growing. Our brand is still growing. We still have things we want to do. And because of that, none of our staff, myself included, has ever taken home a paycheck from Fall Obsession, a monetary payment from Fall Obsession. Would I like to one day? Absolutely, I would. 100%. That's the goal, one day. But the payment that I've had in relationships, experiences, opportunities, you name it, as far as that kind of stuff goes, has made it worth it. It's worth every bit of it. And that's the stuff that, in my mind, is irreplaceable, because money can come and go, as we all know. But the relationships that we have through this organization and through this community, they stay strong and they maintain. And that is ultimately what is going to be valued in the long term, in my opinion. So I'm going through my notes here, and I did jot some things down just to try and keep myself on track, but I didn't know how long this podcast would end up being, and it's gonna err on the shorter side, I feel like. But my encouragement to anybody out there that is grinding away and doing everything they can to try and make a name for yourself is, in the words of the mighty Cam Hanes, keep hammering, keep pushing, find your niche, find what you are passionate about, find what your creative drive can capitalize on, and run with it. See where it takes you. Set yourself apart from the next guy, because that is what is going to help identify you and distinguish you to other companies and other people that want to work with you and that believe in what you're doing. Be real, be genuine in your content. Don't try to put on a fake personality or and granted, I say fake personality. I know there's plenty of people out there who do like the comedian side of everything, and I get a kick out of that stuff too. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being you, right? Because if you're trying to put on a show and be somebody that you're not, eventually that's going to come back and bite you. Eventually somebody is going to see through that, and it's going to be a downhill slide for you from there. And you're not going to be able to bounce back under the same passion and the original thing that you were trying to create. It's not going to happen. So be genuine, be yourself, believe in what you're doing. Work with people who believe in what you're doing and you believe in what they're doing. Have wholesome relationships in this industry. Don't just accept a free handout because it's a free handout. I'm proud of Fall Obsession and the fact that all of the partners that we have, the people that we have surrounded ourselves with in this industry, we find to be genuine people. We find to have products that work, that we believe in. I know it's I can create a reel on Instagram and tell you, go use Hoot Camo, or you heard it at the beginning of this podcast. I use Hoot Camo. I'm putting my name on that. And my name means something to me. So put your name on something you believe in. I put my name on a product that I had held in my hands. I had done my research on. I had looked their owner in the eye and shook his hand and bought him a barbecue sandwich and sat with him for hours talking about hunting. I believed in that product, and we started that relationship right then and there. And he believed in us, and he went full send into his investment into Fall Obsession, same as we did into Hoot Camo. That's an example of, in my mind, believing in each other and not just getting something because you have the opportunity to get something for free or to get a discount or to, whatever it might be. Believe in one another. Build good relationships. We talked about being genuine. You got to work. You got to work for this stuff. If you want to be somebody and you want to have something in any industry, but especially in the hunting industry, you got to work for it. And if you put in the work for it, you set yourself apart, it'll pay off for you in the long run. There's going to be long nights, there's going to be long days, long weekends, there's going to be times where you want to quit. Don't. You can't. Not if you want to make it. You look at anybody in this industry that has made something of themselves or of a brand, and there was a low point for each and every one of them. They didn't quit. They pushed through. They made it happen. And every single one of us has, deep down inside, the ability to do the same. We just got to dig it out, and we got to push through. The other thing that I'll say is support one another. And I don't just mean like, hey, good job, man. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'm not talking about financial support either. I get, like, believe me, I'm feeling it too. Stuff is more expensive than it's ever been before. And it's harder and harder to have, extra money to play with. You gotta dedicate yourself to have play money these days if you're blue collar, I feel like. And I feel like if you're listening to this show, you might be in the same boat I am as far as what the reasoning is for all that, but I'm not here to talk about that. Needless to say, that's where we're at. Not everybody can go to fallobsession.com and buy a hat or buy a t-shirt. Just buy a raffle ticket for whatever we're raffling off next, which, by the way, we are doing some raffles coming up, so keep your eyes open. But not everybody can do that, right? So what is a $0, 0 cent investment in your buddy's brand, a brand you believe in, that takes you 3 seconds? I think you know where I'm going with this. It's social media. We're in a media world. We're a media company. People are trying to put out media. Go to their Facebook or their Instagram page. If you don't follow and like it, follow and like it. You should have already been doing that. And then go to the button. There's 3 little dots there. Click on those. Go to the button that says invite friends, select all, and invite. You just spent a few seconds of your time to invite hundreds, maybe thousands of people to go like this page, follow this brand, follow what my buddy's doing here. He's got good stuff going on. And I guarantee you a bunch of those people are going to do just that because they also understand the value of that data. I've talked about that on this show before. That making that digital investment like that into somebody, it pumps numbers, it helps them on the back end, and that's what transfers over to our conversations with these other partners in the industry. Like, to them, to other people, they want to know how many people are seeing your content, seeing your stuff. And if you have if you can show them more data, greater numbers, that's going to work in their favor. Help them out. And maybe a time will come where your buddy that you just invite on Facebook to follow this page might actually see a product on that page that he wants to buy, or knows of a buddy that is looking for, land consulting or something like that. It's like, oh, hey, I know a guy. I follow him on Facebook. I see his stuff all the time. Go check him out. That's where the digital $0, 0 cent investment starts paying off as a monetary investment for that small brand. And you just helped them out. So, in conclusion, support your friends. Support your hunting buddies. If you have your own small-time hunting brand, then invite people to follow your page, and the other people that are doing the same thing, invite people to go support them too, because they're grinding away at it. And it's not a competition. I'll use a real life example. I have a great relationship with Soul Seekers and Johnny Mac over there at Soul Seekers, which, if you guys aren't following Soul Seekers and listening to Johnny Mac's podcast and watching his show on Carbon TV, you should be. I am telling you to go support a friend, a guy that's grinding away at it. And he would tell you the same about our brand and everything. It's not a competition. Johnny Mac has a podcast. I have a podcast. We have hunting shows. He has hunting shows. But it's not like we're not competing. We're supporting one another. And that's how this community needs to endure. That's how this community needs to continue to move forward from here. So that's my call to action for you guys in conclusion of this podcast, is support one another. If you are grinding away at it and trying to build a brand in this industry, keep doing it. If you're not sure what you're doing, if you're not sure what your brand is supposed to be or what kind of content you need to create or what your identity even is, then explore it. Try different things. figure out what your niche is, figure out what works and what doesn't work. And if at any time you want to pick somebody's brain, you're welcome to reach out to me. I don't have all the answers, straight up, I don't, but I'll hop on a phone with you and talk to you and see what you got going on. You can shoot me a message on our social media pages, or you can send me an email just through our info@fallobsession.com email, and I'll find it and get a hold of you. But willing to talk to anybody that has questions. If I don't have the answers, I know somebody that does somewhere, and I can make the introduction. So thank you guys for listening. At this point, I find it appropriate to tell y'all to make sure you're following and subscribe to Fall Obsession Podcast and following Fall Obsession on social media, because we appreciate that. That's, again, everything that we just talked about. That's supporting one another. That's holding on to one another and building each other's brand and doing all that kind of stuff. So make sure that you are following Fall Obsession. We're on all the major social media platforms. Go to our website, fallobsession.com, and see everything we have going on there. And yeah, we're going to all together as a hunting community as a whole keep this thing going. Whatever that thing is for you. We're here to support one another and keep it going. Thanks for listening, guys. Back again next week for another podcast, and I'll catch you.